Welcome back to the Calabash Diaries, where Africa's past comes alive. Today, we open the Calabash to uncover the legendary Kingdom of Carthage, a city of merchants, warriors, and visionaries who dared to stand against the mighty Roman Empire. From its mysterious Phoenician roots to its rise as a global trade empire, Carthage was more than just an enemy of Rome. It was an African power whose innovations shaped the ancient world. So sit back and let us journey into the streets of Carthage, sail its mighty fleets, and march with its greatest general, Hannibal. Carthage's story begins far from Africa, in Tyre, a Phoenician city in present-day Lebanon. The Phoenicians were seafarers, traders, and inventors of the alphabet. It was here that a princess named Elissa, better known to history as Queen Dido, and her brother Pygmalion were born into a royal family. Their fates would shape the destiny of North Africa and Rome itself. Dido's father, King Balis II, ruled a city rich with purple dye, silver, and maritime trade. Phoenician ships were known as the carriers of civilization, sailing as far as Spain and West Africa. Dido's childhood was not like that of an ordinary princess. From the palace walls, she saw fleets of ships bringing ivory, gold, and tin from across the seas. She learned languages, trade negotiation, and religious rituals for the gods, Melkart and Baal Hammon. Unlike many princesses, she was educated in navigation and politics, skills that would later save her life. Dido and Pygmalion grew up in the glittering port city of Tyre, in modern-day Lebanon, a place famed for its purple dye, cedar ships, and merchant fleets that sailed across the Mediterranean. Tyre was a hub of wealth and ambition, but it was also a nest of rivalries. From childhood, Dido was described in Phoenician oral traditions as graceful, intelligent, and blessed with the wisdom of her father, King Balis II. Her brother Pygmalion, on the other hand, was ambitious, restless, and consumed with the hunger for power. When their father died, the throne passed to young Pygmalion. Though only a boy, he was ruthless from the start, seeing in every rival, including his sister's husband, Calabash, also called Sychaeus in Roman accounts, a threat to his power. Her marriage to Calabash, also known as Sychaeus in Roman versions of the story, was not just a union of love, but a political alliance that tied her to Tyre's priestly class, who oversaw sacred temples dedicated to Melkart, the god of the city. Together, they represented a balance of spiritual authority and royal governance, until Pygmalion's envy destroyed it. Calabash was a high priest of Tyre's temple of Melkart, the city's chief god, and he controlled great wealth. Pygmalion's greed overcame him. Ancient sources suggest it also stemmed from jealousy of Dido herself. She was admired by the people of Tyre, and her influence threatened his fragile rule. He had Calabash secretly murdered, and the blood spilled in the sacred temple poisoned Dido's love for her brother forever. Pygmalion sought to control her and her fortune, but he underestimated her courage. Dido knew that her life was now in danger. According to Phoenician records and Roman retellings, she devised a brilliant escape. She gathered loyal supporters, smuggled her husband's hidden treasures, and, under the cover of night, fled Tyre by ship. The voyage carried her west, past Cyprus, where she took in companions, and finally to the shores of North Africa. After weeks at sea, Dido and her followers reached the North African coast. Here, she negotiated with the local Berber king, Iarbas, asking only for as much land as could be covered by an oxhide. Cleverly, she cut the oxhide into thin strips, encircling a large hill. This became Byrsa Hill, the heart of Carthage. This single act of wit showed how Phoenicians prized intellect and strategy over brute force. The foundation of Carthage was not just a story of survival, it was an early example of diplomacy, ingenuity, and urban planning. Carthage was not built with war, but with intelligence, trade, and diplomacy. It became a hub of Phoenician culture, temples to Melkart and Tanit, harbors filled with merchant fleets, and streets echoing with African, Phoenician, and Mediterranean voices. But Dido's refusal to marry Iarbas led to her tragic death, where she vowed eternal hostility between Carthage and future Rome. Her curse would echo centuries later, in the wars that defined Hannibal's life. Carthage grew into a superpower. Its strength lay not in land, but in the sea. Carthage's double harbor was a marvel of engineering, one for trade ships, the other for warships, housing over 200 vessels. The city became the beating heart of Mediterranean trade, dealing in gold from West Africa, tin from Britain, and slaves from across the continent. Culturally, Carthage blended Phoenician traditions with African ones. Carthaginian generals commanded both settlers and Berber allies. Their religion honored gods like Tanit, protector of fertility, and Baal Hammon, a storm god. Their art and inscriptions show both Phoenician and North African styles, proving Carthage was a hybrid culture, not an imported colony. By the 5th century BC, Carthage controlled Sicily, Sardinia, and parts of Spain. It was no longer just Tyre's daughter. It was an empire of its own. But rising in the west was another power, Rome. Carthage and Rome clashed in the Punic Wars, a struggle for dominance in the Mediterranean. The First Punic War, 264 to 241 BC, was fought over Sicily. Carthage had naval superiority, but Rome adapted quickly, building a fleet and inventing the Corvus boarding bridge to turn naval battles into land combat. Carthage lost, paying huge reparations. But this defeat forced Carthage to look to Spain for wealth. A new dynasty, the Barcids, rose, led by Hamilcar Barca. His son was a boy named Hannibal, who would grow up vowing eternal hatred for Rome. Hannibal Barca was one of the greatest generals in history. As a child, Hannibal was brought to the temple of Baal Hammon, where his father made him swear never to be a friend of Rome. He grew up among soldiers, learning tactics, horsemanship, and leadership. Unlike Roman commanders, Hannibal ate, trained, and suffered with his men, earning their loyalty. In Spain, Hannibal expanded Carthage's power, conquering Iberian tribes and building a multicultural army of Africans, Iberians, and Celts. His ambitions soon turned toward Rome. Hannibal launched one of history's most daring campaigns, crossing the Alps with war elephants to invade Italy. In 218 BC, Hannibal marched over 90,000 troops, including cavalry and elephants, through treacherous mountain passes. Many perished, but Hannibal's brilliance prevailed. At battles like Trebia, Lake Trasimene, and most famously Cannae, Hannibal crushed Roman legions with genius maneuvers. At Cannae, he encircled and annihilated nearly 50,000 Romans, a tactic still studied in military academies today. But Hannibal lacked reinforcements from Carthage's cautious government. Despite victories, he could not capture Rome itself. After years of stalemate, Rome invaded North Africa. Hannibal was recalled and defeated at Zama in 202 BC by Scipio Africanus, who used Numidian cavalry to outmaneuver him. Carthage lost its empire, reduced to a client state. But Rome's fear of Carthage lingered. In the Third Punic War, 149 to 146 BC, Rome destroyed Carthage completely. The city was burned, its people enslaved, and, as legend says, salt was scattered on its soil. Carthage was gone, but its legacy lived on. From the courage of Queen Dido to the brilliance of Hannibal, Carthage rose from exile to empire, only to fall to Rome's hunger for domination. Yet, even in ruin, Carthage shaped history. Its seafaring, culture, and strategies echoing through time. This was Carthage, a city of traders, warriors, and legends. Thank you for opening the Calabash with us today. If you enjoyed this journey, like, share, and subscribe to the Calabash Diaries. Until next time, remember, our past is power,